Welcome to the DL Gaming Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about couch co-op. But first, my name is Christian.
I'm Emilio.
I'm Zach.
And my name's Amanda, and we're going to be talking a lot about how we went from first couch, playing a little bit of Pong and Atari, to consoles that most of us have grown up on today, and then how co-op has changed from the years of being true couch co-op sitting next to each other to being able to actually stream remote play with each other over the internet. It's amazing. It's wild. Grab your popcorn, sit on the couch, and come co-op this game with us, which is our podcast. So the first thing I've got is I'm kind of curious as to what everybody's first memories of playing a co-op game was, or like some of the favorites from their childhood. Like for me, I definitely remember like NES and Super Mario Bros. Being kind of like the very first thing that of breaking me into a true co-op. And then from there, it just kind of exploded to like Mario Kart, Super Smash Bros., of course, and Nintendo 64 was such a huge like co-op. Nintendo really had the market and still does, I think, in a lot of ways, of being very dominating with the co-op kind of world. I know that when I got a little bit older, I did a lot of LANing of Call of Duty where we actually connected the computers together and played that. We did Age of Empire tournaments as well, and Guitar Hero and Rock Band were like really huge, and I would argue really great co-op
Rock Band
games as well.
Yes,
right?
the best. The fucking
Isn't
best.
that up to
did
like four players or more?
Yeah.
4 players, yeah. Yeah, I was more into Guitar Hero than Rock Band, though. I kind of feel like was there like did you guys have that too, where people were way more into one or than the other? And
Totally.
what were you guys more into?
I was more into Rock Band because we wanted to start a real band, and then all these people were into Guitar Hero, and they were jealous of us. They were jealous of our friend group. They were jealous of our band. Our band was called Robot Foot Deer, and we worked on one song and then went on a hiatus forever. So it wasn't very successful. Yeah. How about you, Zach? Oh, sorry.
I remember I played the first couple of Guitar Heroes, and I was kind of over that type of game when Rock Band came out. I played it a little tiny bit. Guitar Hero 2 was the main one that I played nonstop. And then I remember Guitar Hero aped Rock Band at some point and introduced the other instruments, I think, right? Because it started as just guitar.
Oh, really? Oh,
I think they did. I might be wrong.
I've never played either one of them, but from the outside, I was like, one has one instrument and the other one has 4. What? Clearly, one's better than the other. That's how I saw it.
yeah. This segment, Amelia's going to be talking about like marbles and throwing rocks.
Yeah, dominoes.
Yes.
I feel pretty rude. You know, we all sat down at the couch, and I didn't even introduce our player 4, or you could argue player 2. We've got Zach here with us from the Podderation Network. He's got his own show called Punch and Roll for Initiative, where he reads audiobooks. You can tell by the end of this episode that he's very good at it because of his voice. And he does D&D campaigns reading with a beautiful audiobook voice. So hi, Zach. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. I love talking
Yeah,
gaming.
what kind of childhood co-op games did you get into or what got you started into co-op games?
The funny thing is, I've been racking my brain for what co-op games did I play as a kid, and what co-op really looked like for me as a kid was my sister and I we had a Sega Master System, and then, mainly when we were playing, we had a Sega Genesis. So really it was just us taking turns, because we had Sonic like 1, 2, 3 and Knuckles. And technically with 2 on, you could plug in a second controller, and the other player just played Tails, like kind of flying around, which was fun, but the camera only followed Sonic. So if Sonic got ahead, you just kind of got dragged along with him. But that gave way to like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon, which again was just us taking turns, really. So I didn't actually, like, I'd go to friends' houses and play like Smash Bros. Or Mario Kart or something, but co-op didn't really become much of a thing for me until like Xbox days with Halo and then Xbox Live.
Nice.
Xbox Halo. I mean, I was never part of that whole thing, but that's all you ever heard about. Just people were having fantastic 4-player split screen chaos, and then it was eventually, I don't know what point it did. It went online, right? And then you could have squads of 4 against other people online. I believe it was like one of the first games to do that.
Yeah, I mean, they technically started introducing Xbox Live with the original Xbox. I think you had to get a peripheral, and it didn't work great. But I mean, Halo 2, 3, and on the 360, it just blew up.
Awesome.
When
I'm really glad though that you. Oh, sorry. I'm glad that you brought up the Sonic the Hedgehog and taking turns though, because I did the same thing with Sega Genesis being the very first console I ever had, and I was the same way. And I always wanted Knuckles. I never wanted to be Tails because you're right, you would just get dragged.
Yeah.
But it was fun, and I remember a lot of the Sonic games were like that, of being able to go back and forth with your friends and stuff. And I really think that that's holding the essence as a child of true co-op games, and how any game in theory could kind of be a couch co-op if you took turns and factored that in. But sorry, Christian, what were you saying?
Completely forget. My bad. I guess I'll just go into my early memories. So the first game, Zach and Amanda, you made me unearth a new memory. I did go to my cousin's place and play Sonic a lot. And also, who's the guy eats a bunch of spinach and is on the ship?
Popeye?
Yeah, Popeye. Good fried chicken. But we played that too. And that was co-op as well, right? You could be Popeye, and then he had some sort of sidekick or something. Was it the guy who flipped pancake? Olive oil?
Well, that's his lady friend. I don't know I don't remember a Popeye game, to be honest.
This memory is at the edge of my consciousness. So, but I think co-op got started to me first playing Army Men RTS with my dad on a rented PlayStation 2. That was the one that was an RTS, but it switched to a first-person perspective. It was truly split screen. And when we started, he dominated me in the FPS and in the RTS. It was horrible. And he loved to do that. Unfortunately, not a great co-op partner. But eventually, as I learned, I got better and better. And then I was headshotting him from across the map, completely dominating in the RTS. And then that was the end of me and my dad's co-op gaming experience.
Wow. Forever.
Yeah, I remember the exact day I had headshotted him from across the map, 50 kill streak or something. And he put down the controller and he said, "I don't think I'm a good foe for you anymore. And it's not really that fun for me."
Oh,
wow. And I went, "Oh, sorry." I was trying to go easy on him, but then he was like, "I feel like you're going easy on me." It was just awkward, so it ended. But that graduated into 4-player Doom with my friends in their basement. And then finally, our family got an Xbox 360, and I had a Halo 2 party with all my friends. We had popcorn, the sweets. We were all on the living room couch and floor together. I think there was 8 of us taking turns. My brother was in there. So yeah, that's my early co-op memories, and they're fond memories, dude. Even thinking about Sonic, I had a lot of fun. Yeah.
For me, like you said, first we had nothing, and then we started banging rocks together. And
then 5.
Larger. Then we got larger and larger rocks, and progressed from there until I played my first video game, which was Joust on the 2400. I went to these rich people's houses, and they had a big screen TV and Joust, and it was Christmas, I think. And it was if I remember right, it was 2 players right out of the bat. You were jousting with this other player, and terrible game. Doesn't really make any sense, but it was a thing that, you control a thing on the screen, on the TV, that you could only watch cartoons before. That was amazing to me. So I didn't get my own one till a few years later. And then, the quintessential in my life, my Halo, if you will, was GoldenEye on the N64. That was every day for hours, talking shit, knocking controllers out of each other's hands. Some of us continued to get better at, after we started to split apart. We came back together for a reunion, and one guy kept playing the whole time. He knew where you would spawn based on where you were killed. So it was just and you spawn naked every time. So it was just he was just so much better than us at that point. But yeah, that is quintessential for co-op gaming for me.
Spawn camping is not cool.
No, it isn't.
Get it out of the friend group. But he probably felt like a god too. He's probably I'm literally the best.
Yeah, I'm literally the best.
Oh my gosh. Well, I know somebody that absolutely loves co-op games, and it's such a tragedy that he's not here. Bobby is busy doing things as he always is busy and doing, but he's a great guy. He's got no time though, and once again, he's not here. So to keep him here and to kind of keep his spirit alive with us in co-op gaming, we're gonna give a pitch of a
These
game
are so good, by the way.
We're going to give a Bobby pitch, one that's going to compel him to maybe play this with us. Let us know in our Discord, which you can find at dlgaming.net. Let us know which pitch you found the most compelling and which one you think Bobby would enjoy the most. And then like maybe in a year or two from now, when Bobby finally comes up from like all of his stuff that he has to do, he'll tell us which one actually works.
Yeah.
So.
He can schedule us in the calendar a couple years ahead. It should be good.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it's great because Zach, you've never met Bobby. So we definitely want to have you go first. I think that's going to be fantastic. So Zach, give us your pitch of a game that Bobby would really enjoy as a co-op game.
To a complete stranger.
To a complete stranger, yeah.
Well, that's the thing. So I got the prompt I was given was he's a man of very peculiar tastes or particular tastes and no time. And I thought, well, you know what? That kind of sounds like me these days. So my pitch for Bobby is a hypothetical game, which is mostly a plea for a game like this from me. Hopefully this would be something that Bobby's into too, right? So it's got to be low key because we don't have a lot of time these days to play. We can't be playing something really intensive where you got to remember every little detail of something, right? It can't be something like highly competitive because you can't be competing with 12-year-olds who have all day to get good at the game, right? So I'm thinking like a not overly complex co-op, maybe like a narrative-driven game, something like a Baldur's Gate 3, which is always a good option if we need a specific game for this, but maybe a little less complex than Baldur's Gate 3. But the most important part of the whole pitch / plea is when you step away from the game for a long time and come back to it, the game has a built-in little like pseudo tutorial that it just reminds you, here's the basic controls. Here's what you were doing last time. Here's what your abilities kind of mean again, your skills or your powers. Here's your like latest kind of couple of objectives. Here you go. Get back into it. I know it's been 6 months, but this is what you were up to. Go forth and adventure.
I like that. I like
That's
that
a great
lot.
pitch.
It's kind of
yeah.
Listen up, gaming world.
Yeah.
It's kind of like The Witcher 3. It would do that, but for the story, it would catch you up on the story and be like, the last thing that happened last time on The Witcher 3, and then it gives you a little. It was amazing how it did that.
Yeah, it's like a co-op Witcher 3 would be a great one for this because there's a story there, but you're doing so many side quests in that you don't always really care about you're not always remembering what the main story was anyway. It's mostly fun to just ride around and do stuff in the environment. So like let's think like a co-op Witcher 3. Can we get that going?
I love it.
God damn, that might be the best one. Shit. Okay.
Shit.
I know.
Well,
it's
all
I almost
downhill
feel like
from here,
Bobby
folks.
really was here. Like that's
Yeah.
he never left. Emilio, what do you think? I mean, you've known Bobby the longest, probably out of all of us. So we'll go, the least knowing to the most knowing real quick. So Emilio, let us hear your pitch.
Well, I know that there's no pleasing the man, right? There's always the negative comes first. He describes things by how bad they are, not how good they are. I tend to be the opposite. Maybe that's why we're on the podcast together. But so I was thinking a peripheral that will cut out everything that's bad. Check it out. So his keyboard has no characters on it. He has a blacked out keyboard because he likes to challenge himself or whatever. I said, let's take it up a notch. It's a peripheral. It's just a blindfold. We're going to blindfold him. That way he doesn't see any story. He doesn't, there's basically no game. There's no foxes that are going to ruin his game. There's nothing. There's no microtransactions. There's nothing that's going to, I beg for him to find something wrong with the peripheral.
Yeah.
Maybe he won't like the audio levels. I don't know. But,
okay, Zach. So
that's my pitch.
A little catching up. Bobby loved this game called Tavern Keeper, I think. Loved it. But he described it exactly as Emilio said, where the first 80% of him talking about the game was things he didn't like about it. And he's like, this fox and this tutorial way too long. And then at the end, we're like, so did you like it? And he's like, yeah, I loved it. Like, what are you talking? Why did you describe it like this? So funny. I think the blindfold is fucking great, Emilio. I think that's good.
It's pretty fantastic. Pretty spot on. Yeah. All right, Christian, what about you?
Okay, I think I went a little bit more positive. So I'm thinking it's all about the environment that we can get Bobby in, like lighting the metaphorical candles to get him in the room. And then he can't really say no once he's there. I mean, he can, but he's too nice. Like he probably won't say no. He'll probably play the game with us. So I'm thinking it's a bed of popcorn ball pit. So we're laying on it, playing the game. And then snacks, by the way, right there beside us, right in our mouth. It could be a little bit gross, but I know Bobby doesn't like anything on his popcorn. So there's no butter, there's no salt, just plain popcorn like the man loves. We're laying on it. It's comfy. Next, it's going to be a cooperative narrative sort of adventure game. But there's a big red button that skips all dialogue because I know that's a problem. So again, narrative adventure, notoriously high on the dialogue, but big red button, we can skip it, right? Then there's another thing. If the big red button gets pressed 3 times, the screen changes from the game we're playing to playing the compilation of Tremors 1 through 7. Okay, so we got that out. I'm giving him lots of out. We're on a bed of popcorn. I don't think he can say no to this. I think we're going to have a great time. And maybe 20 minutes in. Yeah. 20 minutes in, we're going to be watching Tremors, and that's going to be fine as well. I mean, not my choice, but I know he'll like it, so. What about you, Amanda? What do you got pitching for Bobby?
Yeah, kind of similar because I know that Bobby is quite the movie man, loves movies, hates story in games. So that's a really fascinating conundrum. I was thinking something that was kind of like a co-op game that is more of you're watching an obscure foreign film, but it has enough story that it's like a movie, but not too much story to where it's like a video game story. Because that's, I think, the sweet spot with Bobby for sure. And then to really just drive it home and make sure that he plays it, I want there to be lots of puzzles in there and lots of co-op. But once again, like no dialogue and a movie without officially being a movie, because I think he'll like that. And if we make it Star Wars, but not for children, then he's going to love it.
That's true. He'll play anything Star Wars. That should have been all in all our pitches. Damn.
I feel like I should have known.
Quite the Star Wars man.
Yeah.
You guys could have let Zach know. Yeah. By the way, he paid. Here's another thing about that guy.
God damn it.
He paid like $400 for that keyboard, and I feel like why don't you just use black nail polish to just black out your. Never mind.
Yeah.
This guy, man.
It's not as stealthy with black nail polish, dude. It's going to be detectable by radar. It's not from the factory. All right, Amanda, what do we got going next?
All right, next I want to talk about, we talked a little bit about going down memory lane and swapping controllers back and forth between each other to talk about the games that we grew up on. But these days, what kind of exciting co-op games gets the people going and gets you guys going? Like for me, I mean, I just straight up played 15 hours of Split Fiction. Beat it. I think I'm going to hold off till the end to talk about it because I got a knack of spending like 25 minutes gushing about a game when I spend too much time about it. So I want to hear from you guys, what is the exciting modern co-op games that you guys have going on right now? We're going to start with you, Zach.
Ooh. I played a little bit of Baldur's Gate 3 co-op and had a super good time doing that, but it's such a big game, and I'm unfortunately, like Mystery Man Bobby, I'm so I have so little time to actually play that I didn't get to finish a playthrough that way, but it was awesome. So instead, what I've mostly been playing co-op lately is Lethal Company, which is like a little indie kind of horror game. So it's not like a big commitment. You just kind of go and you run for sort of as long as you can until you lose or die or just quit for the night or something. But I know people have been really talking about Helldivers, right? Is it Helldivers 2 right now?
Yeah.
Even that might be a little bit old news at this point, but that's one that I really want to play. That one's kind of got me itching to play a co-op game. Yeah.
Amanda's
With
got
Lethal
freedom
Company,
tattooed. Oh, sorry.
I got a question. Do you have like a story kind of sitting at the top of your head of a really funny time that you played Lethal Company? Because I have seen hilarious content come out of that game of very funny interactions.
I mean, kind of. I play with my wife, who's also an audiobook narrator, and some of our other like narrator and voice actor friends. And we don't usually stream, but we're always saying that we should because my wife is the biggest scaredy cat, but she's also the one mostly driving us to actually sit down and play the game. So, the premise is you land on a planet, you walk to a little facility, you go inside of it, and you pick up scrap, like just random stuff, and you try to make it back to your ship. And monsters will spawn inside. Late enough in the day, monsters will spawn outside. You try to get all your scrap back to your ship and go. My wife will, before the ship lands, jump off of it, bolt to the facility before everybody else, find the first one or two things, hear one random noise like in the background, say, "Fuck this, I'm leaving, see you later," and bolt back to the ship, and then just watch us all on the monitors. So that's a pretty fun time every single time it happens.
Is she good on the monitors?
She is pretty good on the monitors, yeah, because you can control traps from inside the ship sometimes, so it is helpful to have somebody in there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I just saw a game today that looks like an upgraded Lethal Company. It's called I just had it. It's called I lost it. Never mind. It's gonna be a fucking
Great.
Text me later about it.
Right. After the drum roll.
I've got the link right here, and I can't click it for some reason.
Oh, I think it's called
Emilio's
Repo.
brain cells were like
Repo.
when you're.
Repo.
Oh, what is it?
Oh, I've
Repo.
heard that.
REPO.
I have heard people mention that.
So you're playing as these minions, this like evil villain is using you as his minions to go collect like special things out of haunted houses and stuff. And your heads, when you talk, because it's local audio, your head moves like the guys from some South Park from Canada. You know how like half their head opens up.
Yeah.
And so every time anybody's talking, their whole head's flapping. It looks hilarious. It's overwhelmingly positive with 16,000 reviews. I think it's exploding right now in 1 month.
Actually, I do know what you're talking about. I've seen a really funny clip of that, of like one guy being like, hey bro, come in here. And they run in and he's like, oh, there's something that's thick walking by. And like they both just sit there and this huge creature with this fat big ol' ass walks right by him, and they just zoom in looking at each other, and one guy just has his mouth open and then zooms him back. It sounds like such a fun game.
A game night coming up for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure, yeah. So Amelia, what about other exciting co-op games you've got on your radar?
So these are things that just if I were going to play co-op, and like right now, if you were going to say like what can we play that would be fun, Gang Beasts, especially if you have 4 people, is just hilarious. It's you dress up in these gummy bear suits and you have fumble core physics, so nobody really knows how to play it, but you just try your best the whole time to throw each other off of the platform. But these gummy bear people, they stick to things, so it makes for hilarity. You can make it back from the depths of hell for your revenge sometimes, and it's so funny. Binding of Isaac, one of the best co-op. I kind of want to ask you guys what your thoughts are. You were talking about the Sonic the Hedgehog and Tails being asymmetrical co-op, right? So same thing originally on Binding of Isaac was the same thing. There was like a little ghost that followed Isaac around, and that was the other player, and they can interact in the world different than Isaac could. They have less damage and whatever, but I'm a fan of the asymmetry, maybe more than if you're the same character going through a game, just because you can, if one character can do something the other one can't, then you can work together to try to figure out how, puzzle solving and stuff like that. There's more to be done in that genre. What do you guys think about asymmetrical versus regular?
Yeah. I mean, that's the basis for all those Joseph Ferris games, right? Like Split Fiction and Brother Tale of Two Sons. It's that asymmetry that makes it interesting in a lot of the puzzles. So yeah, fan.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Speaking of which, A Way Out, Bobby and I played that, and I thought it was fantastic. I think Bobby liked it. It's so hard to tell. He told me what was wrong about it, but I don't know if he liked it. So I'm really looking forward to Split Fiction. I think I just ordered a controller today so I can play it with Samantha if I can trick her into coming to the garage because it's too cold. And then, meanwhile, I'm wearing a husky sweater.
You like bundled the fuck up.
Broforce is cheap. It's old. You can play co-op, and it's interesting where the more players you have, they don't add more enemies, but the game gets harder because you're killing each other. There's so much chaos in that game, just missiles and bombs and the ground falling out below you. It's a different way where there's not very many games that do that. They get harder, not by making the bad guys stronger or do more damage. It's just more chaos. Every character adds more chaos, and then there's more danger. And so that one is very cool, and I would say anybody should check it out. There's a free version too out there, so there's that. So Christian, have you talked?
No, not yet. I think it's the return of couch co-op in this household because we got those Steam Decks, right? And we have the Steam Dock. So, previously I was only playing online multiplayer games with Rianne. I mean, her computer's right beside me. But ever since the baby's in our life, we're not so able to sit down and spend time together in this space. So that looks like in front of the TV, and we're playing a lot of Cult of the Lamb right now. So it's I haven't played couch co-op in so long that I'm like, oh, this is why I love it. It's so chill, and it's just nice to be out in the living room. You feel like maybe a real person. We're not playing for long periods of time. We're not playing late at night. It's like middle of the day, baby sleeping. Hey, let's play some Cult of the Lamb and work on our cult together. So that's been fun. But for online co-op, because I know we're going from the couch to online for this episode, something is one of those grand strategy games, Total War Shogun. So I actually played that with Bobby. I don't know how I even convinced him. I think maybe we had just met, and it was like you get one free, like the first one's free, and then after that, it takes a lot of convincing. But basically, in that, you're in Shogunate Japan, and you're trying to take it over, and so we co-opt, but then at a certain period of time in the campaign, you have to smash against each other, and it's like the battle of the Titans, and then whoever wins that obviously wins the game. So we didn't get that far, but I have played co-op Shogun with people where we did get that far, and it's incredibly fun. You're working with someone the whole time against all these hard computers, and then your reward at the end is just to fight them. So yeah, that comes to mind for me. And then Amanda, what do we got? What do we got in this?
So I'm actually going to start the other way. I'm going to start online and go to the couch is what I'm going to talk about. So I'm starting with kind of Gartic Phone, the big party stuff, the stuff that we do at like DLG Con or game nights. That game is so much fun, I think, because it's a way to play like telestrations or, charades or finishing a story with each other. And like it's done really well and free. Who doesn't love free? So it's fantastic. Another one is I absolutely love Spell Table for probably not as much as Emilio, though, actually, because he actually plays it more than I do. But taking and playing Magic the Gathering online with your friends, and it's just as easy as, in a way, like it's easier than even setting up the Riverside and us just joining and talking to each other on here. So it's so wonderful to be able to bring really any kind of like tabletop game and make that somewhat of a true co-op as well. And then Emilio showcasing his magic cards. He's ready to go.
I'm ready to go right now.
Don't threaten me with a good time. But so
Zach, if you haven't heard of it, it's like you play with physical cards and a webcam, and the program reads your cards.
Yeah, I actually just met up with a couple of friends yesterday for some Commander, but we tried Spell Table, and it was kind of a little too janky for us to get it to work consistently. So we ended up playing less frequently, but meeting up in person to play at a game shop.
That's always better for sure.
Yeah, that's so much better. Yeah.
But I still love that. Divided you.
Well, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, but for anybody that's like, states away from each other, like it's such a nice option and stuff. And then a really good like co-op game I played kind of recently was Chained Together, which is hilarious. nice, simple, like indie game where you're just physically chained to your partner and you have to do a bunch of jumps and sometimes not really puzzles. It's mostly like platforming and jumping onto different things to go from the bottom of hell up, which is really funny and really great. And if you want kind of a mix of literally everything together, you could just play a Hazel-like game like A Way Out, Brothers, It Takes Two, and Split Fiction. I'm definitely going to be talking about that now because this game is
15
amazing.
hours, huh? That's intense.
Yeah,
first of all.
I beat it. I straight up took Friday off to play it, and my partner took Friday off as well. And we sat on the couch, and we first played it with a Steam Deck. We got about an hour and a half in with the Steam Deck. It ran great. He was using a DualSense controller. I was using I just have like a third party, I think it's 8-bit Do controller, just one of these guys. And we're sitting on the couch playing it and being like, this game is running amazing. It's running incredible on the Steam Deck. But then we were like, we've got two really badass PCs like in the next room.
Yeah.
Why don't we just take a PC and connect it to the TV? And the only difference is going to be it's going to look fucking stunning. And it does look fucking stunning when you do it that way. And so the whole rest of the, like 13 and a half hours we played with a PC and then just connecting the controllers to the PC. And this game was amazing. The ability that Hazelight has to do this kind of asymmetric kind of both camera and what each role is doing in the game as the character is really incredible, because you play, and the premise of the story of Split Fiction is that there is a sci-fi writer and a fantasy writer, and together with I think about 3 or 4 other writers, they go to audition at this company that's making this huge like AI kind of machine that can make people live through stories that were written. So it's kind of like they submitted a story to this company, and the company created it in a simulation and then put the writer in there. Well, there was these issues that happened where the sci-fi writer named Mio started getting kind of cold feet about it and was like sketched out. And she was like, I think I'm going to leave. And he was like, can't leave. And she gets forced into the fantasy girls bubble. So now we've got 2 writers in one world. And the way that this company has been able to make a co-op game that is asymmetric, 2 totally different genres, and not only weave them in a really beautiful through line story, but also on the more engineering side, create a game that splits and weaves in and out on a design level is like incredible. They absolutely nailed it. There is like one part where the entire split screen just starts shifting and like the split of the world shifts. So it's like it's instead of normally it's
like
crazy.
50-50, it's like 1/3, 2/3 or something like that.
Kind
like
of.
over?
It changes in the need of where to progress. And then there's like 1.2 where both realities kind of slam into each other and you have to weave in and out of sci-fi and fantasy. Like the game is really incredible. The way that they do it too is that the 2 girls that are stuck, they're trying to get back out, obviously, right? And they're doing so by finding these glitches in the simulation. And so they'll be in one story, and the stories are all these subconscious ideas in each writer. So it might be like one was a Candyland story inspired by a 5-year-old sci-fi writer, like by Mio, like her 5-year-old self-conscious or subconscious and her story there. And you kind of go through them, and then they have all these side stories. So there's just constant like worlds that are built and like asymmetric co-op things of course, puzzles and platforms. There's fighting. You're on a dragon fighting with swords at one point. Like you're a hot dog at one point. I mean, it's all over the place. This game goes all over the place in different worlds with the consistency of you work together. You are finding out more and more about each of your characters' life and what inspires them to write the stories that they're writing, that you're going through and working through, and working together to get out and fighting bosses and solving puzzles and problems that even the game makes the game itself a puzzle, if that makes sense at one point. And the camera type puzzle. I mean, this is, I think from like a design point of any kind of game I've ever played, like for me, this is hands down game of the year just because of what this studio has accomplished in terms of what they've been able to create. Like, because the gameplay itself feels so fluid and so amazing. And there were so many moments where my partner and I were just like, what the fuck? I can't believe they made this. Like, it's amazing. I mean, you're doing heists and you're growing dragons and like it's all over the place. Like, it's just and yet even though it sounds chaotic and all over the place, like each story has a start point, growth to the end of the climax, and then you go into another story, so it still all feels very connected. And then you're still learning so much about Mio, who is the sci-fi writer, and Zoe, who is the fantasy writer. And both of their stories deal with some very real things that definitely pull at the heartstrings and are beautiful. And the cinematics are gorgeous, and they do such a great job of like going into each of these characters' life and story while showcasing many different stories and having you work with the person you're sitting with to go through it together, which is just so beautiful. I've not seen a game. I mean, I also played It Takes Two, and that was a great game. And my only gripe with It Takes Two was, to me, the story fell a little flat. I
didn't like the story either. I didn't like it.
I didn't like the story. I was like, I'm not your couples therapist. Like, whereas this story is so badass and really cool and feels way more relatable because it's about making friends instead of like trying to save a marriage for a child, you know? But like,
okay, man.
They just did such a good job. Yeah.
I think it's beautiful. The review's awesome. I want to play this with Rianne, who's my wife. But I think, you know, in It Takes Two, there was a piano level that has probably broken up many relationships. You've talked about the beauty. I want to know, was there a puzzle where you guys are just like, we can't what's wrong with us? We can't pass this.
Yeah, there's oh yeah. We struggled on a few. Like, there's a few of them. There were moments where they were hard. Like, some of the boss fights are hard. It took us kind of forever to figure out how to platform into launching blades at Hydra heads. That sounds very wild and crazy and specific, but yes, that. And then there's another one. Speaking of chained together, this game has the beautiful thing of chained together, very similar, where you're each riding the head of a centipede and the centipede is connected. So it's one centipede with two heads and each person's on a head, and you have to work together to climb like wheels of magma and fire, and like you have to do a lot of like, okay, I swing and then you let go and I have to grab when you let go, kind of a thing and mechanic, and like solving that, right? And that's just wild. It was really difficult for a while for us to get the hang of that. Otherwise, a lot of it I think was manageable, because there were a lot of moments where, like I said, it was hard, and definitely the boss fights were very hard. I felt that a lot of times the sci-fi side of the game was all action and tough and like shooters and beating bosses and like cool cyber weapons and lasers and stealth, and it was awesome. And then the fantasy side was all puzzles, very heavy on puzzles, and like kind of flipping the script of ideas of how to do things. They had a lot of things where like one person is in charge of like the boat, and you had to then, the other person has to jump around and gather things and then jump off and just trust that when they land in the water, their partner, who's the boat, is going to be at the right spot. And so there were quite a few moments that were like that. And I don't know, there was so many, like there's so much content in this game and so many stories that it's like, I felt
I'll buy it. I
know. Sorry, I'm selling such a compelling, but I genuinely believe that this game is going to win Game of the Year. And I know that this year is stacked with incredible games. Like, unless GTA 6 somehow like it just takes co-op to the next level or revolutionizes gaming, I have a hard time believing that anybody will beat Split Fiction. Like, this game is amazing.
They might vote for Split Fiction just to hear his Game of the Year speech. Joseph Ferris.
Yeah,
very charismatic stage presence.
He would not be able to stop crying, I don't think.
No?
Personally. Yeah.
Okay.
Has he won not Game of the Year before, right? Oh, It Takes Two.
I thought It Takes Two, yeah.
Yeah,
Best
maybe.
indie debut, maybe.
Maybe.
I have literally no idea.
But not Game of the Year. was gonna say I just bought a peripheral just to play this. How I got a second controller, not a blindfold. That's for Bobby. Zach, have you played any Hazelight Studio games?
I don't think so. Is that what Split Fiction is?
Yeah, Split Fiction, A Way Out, which I had on my list as well. It Takes Two, and A Tale of Two Brothers, I believe, are all by the same guy.
I've heard of a few of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they're all, you can't play them by themselves. They're built from the ground up as 2-player co-op, and that's the only way, and that's the way it's supposed to. And they do a really good thing with the purchasing too. You only have to buy one copy per 2 people, because you can send the other person a friend pass, and they can download the game as long as they connect to you. Then it keeps the cost down too. Which, I mean, it all around. I love the company. I love the ethos. I love everything they're doing over there. And every year, every time, it seems like the games get better and better and better.
Yeah.
So, and this seems like their culmination of all those years.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sold on Split Fiction.
Yeah. It's serious. It's so good. I mean it. Like I really hate playing games for a second time or a third time. It's why I struggle with a lot of Souls-like games. But this game is just so cool. Suyash and I were talking about playing near the end again, just so that way we can record this really crazy moment, because like I said, there's even moments in this game where they're kind of just like, oh yeah, you're so used to a horizontal divide, well, we're gonna mess with that and like tweak it, because there's moments where it's like, depending on what platforms you need to jump across, the whole like camera will shift, and so then maybe like 2/3 of your screen is in sci-fi and that player, and then 1/3 of the screen is in fantasy and the other player, and then it'll rotate and move depending on how you're moving through the game. I think from like a technical and like an engineering side, this is really kind of revolutionary what they made here with Split Fiction. And then it's also badass that the story is actually good and it's fun to play. And there's like little things too, which I mean, I feel like would be really nice for all of them, but I really appreciate it. Like, my partner and I were swapping our controller at one point, and depending on what controller you're using, Split Fiction's UI will change to match the type of controller. So if you're using a PlayStation controller, it's going to show you like triangle. If you're using an Xbox controller, it's Y. And then if you were to rotate and switch
screens.
Yes.
That's very cool. Nice.
Yeah, the details that they've done in this are just really amazing. And but yeah, that's like a small little one that I think is just really nice, like a nice quality of life thing. I hear that the game designer, director, or at least when we were watching the credits, we saw that he was in as like a cinematic presence, and we're thinking he was the bad guy actually, because he looks a lot like the bad guy, which is great.
He's kind of
really
in
cool.
A Way Out too. Zach, I'd almost say, I don't know if I were to like recommend it. I think don't start with the like culmination of the best thing, any of the other games, and work your way up with you and your wife. I think that would be like the way to go.
Is there
I think
some
you should make the
continuity
decision yourself.
or is it just for the kind of the progression of the experience?
Yeah, the protection of the experience. Because if you start at this best one and then you go down, like at their older one, they're going to be a little underwhelmed. I think. Speaking,
I get it. It happens.
For the way she's talking. Yeah.
He only has a certain amount of time, though, right, Zach?
I was just going to say,
it's kind of either the best or nothing. So
he's got limited time, and also too being involved in audiobooks and writers and stories. Yeah. I think Split Fiction is actually more of your jam.
It sounds really up my alley. Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Sick. Cool. All right.
I think it's awesome. Well, speaking of we're talking of all this co-op and all of this amazing things that we do for co-op, I kind of want to hear what's everybody's ultimate co-op setup. Like when I was playing Split Fiction, we had the big ass TV. We had all kinds of snacks. We like our shrimp chips, and don't judge me, the shit's delicious.
I love it.
They're so good.
They're
so good. I know what they are.
We've got Spindrift on tea, on beer. We've got everything. Basically anything in arm's reach to drink and eat for the cinematic moments. We've got a huge, warm, cozy hoodie because I'm in the Pacific Northwest. It's cold as shit. We've got cats, of course. I mean, even if I didn't want the cats, they're going to make themselves there anyway. They're going to look, oh, human sitting on the couch. That's my new seat. And so I got to make sure, too, that there's a quick access to the bathroom that has a full stocked TP situation. Because I just said, we've got tons of drinks and foods. You got to be able to run back and forth because you're like, I can't miss miss it. I got to come back. There's a boss fight coming. What are some of your guys' ultimate co-op setups? And so, like, I'm going to start again with, I'm going to start with you, Christian. What's your setup?
Okay. So recently, for my brother's birthday, I went back. I borrowed a 360 from a buddy here, and we played through Halo 2, and I logistically planned it out kind of like we were kids again, as kind of an homage, because we played the shit out of Halo 2 together, me and my brother. Like, maybe we beat the game 30, 40, 50, a crazy amount of times. So we got French toast in the morning. That's when you're going to get your energy. That's what's going to carry you through the beginning. Carbs. Yeah. Yeah. You're going to be with Master Chief in the jungle, and you are going to feel locked and ready to go. We also got some healthy snacks, so granolas, and then we made smoothies. So as we're kind of playing, we have those within arm's reach, and we're good. Many walking breaks. So after every level, we get up, we stretch. You know, we're not as young as we used to be. If we don't do that, our heads get cloudy. We don't want cloudy heads for Halo. We need to be focused because we're playing on fucking Legendary, and we're getting all the achievements, and we're good. We went for burgers for lunch. I don't know. That was just not super important.
Because burgers are delicious. That's why.
Yeah. Not a whole lot of reasoning for that. And then we're closing the blinds in the evening when the game gets harder, of course, for Halo. When you get off of Earth in Halo 2, the game difficulty ramps up, especially if you're on the hardest difficulty for the game. We're closing the blinds. We're getting the bad snacks out. Gummies, sour Skittles. I think we had cotton candy. What else did we have? Twizzlers. I hate Twizzlers, but he loves them. Anyways, we need this fast sugar because we need our reaction speed to be lickety split. Okay. What's next? No supper. Let the hunger motivates you. The gummies carry you over. Weed. That didn't help. We probably spent 3 hours longer.
Yeah.
We got really high because we wanted to. And then at the end, when Master Chief says, "Sir, I'm finishing this fight," that was the culmination of a great co-op night. So that was a really special moment for me and my brother. We haven't done anything like that in like 10 years. So I think that is the best marathon co-op setup for me.
It's awesome, man.
But Emilio, what do you got?
I want to go last. What do you got, Zach?
All right. If it's like me and my wife or something, I'm kind of with Amanda, like cozy tea and that kind of stuff. But if we're talking like ultimate co-op setup, I'm thinking about when I was a kid, right? And we had a bunch of people in a room with like big TV, bunch of like, pizza, bunch of snacks. As a kid, it was like candy and soda. As an adult, we're talking like seltzer and beer and that kind of stuff, probably some weed. But for me, it's like, it's a big enough group that we're playing something kind of casual, drop in, drop out, like a Smash Bros or Mario Kart, right? So you get in, you play a couple of rounds, you tag out, somebody else picks up the controllers, you can go eat pizza. Keep paper towels on hand, no grease on the controllers. I hate that, bugs me. But just drop in, drop out. That's it for me. Like a whole afternoon, evening of that. That's a good time.
Perfect.
Nice.
Perfect answer.
Have you seen the finger chopsticks? I put a picture of it in the show notes,
that.
but it's kind of like, you've got a little, I wish, you know what?
I could
Perfect.
print
I've
those
got
out.
one for the camera, actually. It's, like you put them in between your finger and your middle finger, and you can just reach and grab and get stuff like.
I had never seen that. I have done like hot Cheetos with chopsticks before, but that is, somebody took that to the next level.
It's pretty great. Yeah, because it's kind of like all you got to do is pinch your middle finger and your whatever index finger together, and it works pretty good. I mean, especially for Cheetos, because Cheetos are the worst. They're the best snack for a gaming, I think, and they're the worst for your games.
In the picture, Amanda, they're picking up blueberries, like the pictures you put in the show notes.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yes.
bro,
Happens.
Fucking never. Are you kidding?
Not a single person
Bro,
has
don't
used
eat
them
blueberries?
for blueberries.
It turns you into a Wolverine of snack eating, pretty much. It comes out of over the.
Yeah, you're like quadruple wielding between every two sets of fingers.
Yeah.
And there's a blueberry in every single one of those. You're ready. You're ready. You got all the bloops.
I'm the best at what I do. Eat snacks.
All right, Emilio, what's your best co-op setup?
Is DLG Con? Are we kidding here? Zach, every year we get together, except for last year, which was digital. But all the other ones, we rent a big house. A bunch of people come, and we play video games, and we play board games, and we play pool games, all type of games. If you can't walk around with a blindfold and not run into a game. Like you'll just go from game to game to game. You'll be like, what's going on over here? Oh, people are doing this in the kitchen. Let me join in on that. Like that's the ultimate. There's nothing better because it's not centered around one thing. There's multiple groups doing multiple things and you can just bounce between all of them. It's great.
That sounds awesome.
It's so good.
Yeah.
You're invited to the next one.
Oh, thank you.
It's probably going to be in Wisconsin. Actually, that is a good kind of
house,
reminder. Right? At a lake house. Well,
is
yeah, it's. I'm hoping that that's what we can actually get. But just looking at all of the voting and everything, because the voting is closed today, it is going to be in Wisconsin. So moving forward into the next phase, we'll be looking at actual houses, and I'm aiming for a lake house, but we will see what the cards present themselves for when. But yeah, fucking October sick. In Wisconsin. It's going to be beautiful. The fall colors are great. So that's fun. But yeah, anyway, so moving on to the next thing. That's pretty much the show, guys. Thanks for this fun co-op adventure. We've got some listener questions from one of our longest standing listeners and our newest mod, Warconius. But yeah, Zach, if you want to flex those audiobook reading skills and read for us our
give us the
listener
sexy
questions.
demon, Zach.
Yeah, do you have the characters?
Yeah.
Can we get characters?
Sure. All right. Warconius's first question is, your earliest fond memory of couch co-op gaming. Who were you with and what did you play?
Wow.
So good.
I'm so turned on, I don't even know.
I'll tell you when the book releases.
The sum of my whole knowledge.
I already talked about mine, so.
Yeah, I think we all talked about ours, Warconius, but good question nevertheless, I think.
Yeah. Go home, Warconius, you're drunk. All right.
All right. Do you prefer split screen or shared screen?
I mean, it probably split screen.
Split screen.
It's just better. Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of depends on the game.
I was going to say, I thought of Baldur's Gate 3 that they actually kind of do a pretty decent job of I've never really sat down and did local. Does it go split screen or I think it's always just shared screen with Baldur's Gate 3?
Yeah,
no, it'll split, right? If you go far from somebody, I think.
Oh, probably. There's a few games like that where it's shared if you're close enough, but then if you wander too far, it'll kind of partition the screen. It's not like an even split, but it'll kind of partition it or something.
Yeah, generally tell you what direction the other person is. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah,
you know what, Warconius? I want both. I want dynamic screen splitting.
I reject the premise of your question, Warconius. Idiot.
No.
Goodness.
All right.
All right. Next one. You guys want? I'll do a different voice. This is actually the voice I do for my D&D character.
Quiet on set.
Hazelight Co-op Games have done a really good job in mixing up co-op gameplay with competitive minigames. Can you think of any other games that have done that? Putting an element of competition in co-op play keeps the moment-to-moment fresh.
I'm so entertained. I don't know what you just said. It was so good.
So good.
To be honest, I forgot the question myself in reading it like that.
Focused on the form.
Mixing up co-op gameplay with competitive mini-games. Any other games that do that?
Top one to me is Mario Party. It's kind of one of the oldest
exactly
ones too.
What it is,
yeah, it's a good one.
I look forward to that more than any other Mario game now Nintendo game because that's the family game. There's, I can't really play Smash Brothers with the wife and kids. Doesn't work. So that's the one everybody can play. So can't wait for the next one.
Emilio, I know you know this one. It is 4-player co-op. You are piloting a pink ship together, and there's someone on the gun, someone on the engine.
Lovers in a dangerous space time.
Lovers in a dangerous space time.
I've heard that.
It's not super competitive, but anything that has like a score screen where at the end of the co-op you can be like, yeah, I killed those monsters, or yeah, I repaired the ship this much. What are you doing over there? All your stats are 0, you know? I think keep it classic, just leaderboards. That's fine. You don't need many, even though the competitions in at least a tale. No. I'm forgetting what I'm saying now. What's the Hazelite game before this one?
It Takes Two? Oh, no.
That's
the older one. But
yeah, in It Takes Two, there was all these side competitions where you would play like an arcade game, and that was really fun. But with me and Rianne, that the competitive got maybe too competitive. Maybe we could have done without those, because we spent a lot of time on those, especially if one person wanted to beat my ass again and again and again because it felt good.
Yeah, the best way to celebrate competition or a co-op game is to rip it apart with competition, right? Yeah. Like they're trying to do one thing and then they're like, but there's this over here, you fuckers. Yeah.
During in 2020, we played a lot of Overcooked and Overcooked 2, which is actually kind of cool, thinking about like couch co-op to online co-op, because there's like hybrid co-op too. So like my wife and I could play on one PlayStation, and we were playing with my sister and her then boyfriend, who were, you know, split screen on theirs. But it's not exactly the same like co-op with competitive mini games. It's co-op, but it's so hectic, and you're trying to accomplish the objective, right? You know, follow all the directions, plate all the food, like make it all, that it gets very competitive, and we're just yelling and screaming at each other, like, get out of the way, bring me that ingredient. No, chop this up like that. No, you fucked it up, start over. So there's definitely that competitive element.
The subtext of part 3 should be Overcooked, the deal breaker. Just because people... True. Yeah.
The friendship destroyer, the breakup machine.
Me and Rianne almost got the cops called on us because we were playing Overcooked 2 with the windows open. It was like a really hot day. And I was literally shouting like, get me the tomatoes, get me the fucking tomatoes. And by the way, we love each other. This isn't a problem. It's just we're playing Overcooked. Yeah. But like then we looked outside and someone was like walking their dog. And we were like, oh no, what do they think is happening here? Like, why would you yell for tomatoes? Like that's probably a bad sign in your relationship. So yeah.
They're like, they sound stressed.
Yeah, cooking? Why are they stressed cooking? Yeah.
You're like, I'm having fun. I'm having so much fun.
This is the best time. I'm having such a good time right now.
Yeah.
Next one.
All right. This one sounds very specific. If a cooperative multiplayer game had 2 players, for the purpose of this example, let's call them Dawn and Justine, where one insists on playing solo, ignores team objectives, and prioritizes personal gains, while the other is focused on collaboration and mutual success, how would the game dynamics shift, and has that ever happened to you? What did you do?
Well, it's just that's exactly the rift between Canada and United States right now. I think you just...
One's going for co-op and one's
counter tariffs. Counter tariffs. That's how I would handle it. Where Coney is. Yeah.
I think for me, if I were to try and play with somebody a co-op game and they just insisted on playing solo, I'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to go play my own game then and also just go play solo, because it's super hard. It's one thing like if you're both trying to play co-op and the person that you're playing with is kind of struggling with working together, or we all have these kind of moments where we can kind of like zone in and kind of forget ourselves a little bit and be focusing on the thing in front of us, right? But I feel like reading this, that's not what that is. I feel like reading this question, it's like one person is very adamant on trying to play a solo game and they just have the other person there. Which if that's the case for me, I would certainly leave. Or play a different game,
sure.
Like either try to find a different game or something, because it's super difficult and definitely ruins, I think, the essence of the game if you're fighting the co-op element of a co-op game.
I would say
that's such a...
Maybe I'm a little guilty of being Dawn or Justine, because like if we're playing like a crafting survival online game, I'll almost always just hunt because I'm not interested in building anything. And so I'll be like, well, later fuckers, I'm just going to go fucking solo. But I am providing something,
No, Emilio, I would say you always come back to the base with a lot of shit that we need. It's not like you're just
exactly.
We're like, where did Emilio go? And he's like halfway across the map. He's like, this is my furs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if the team objective is to be building a village, you do need those things, right? So like you are still working towards the team objective. I think the way at least I'm reading this question is that like say in that scenario you were off hunting and the other person while you're hunting for things to bring back to the home, the other person just goes, I'm just going to make my own home. And then they just go leave and go make their own home and then go hunting as well. And then you guys are disconnected and not even talking,
you know
right?
what I realized? Bobby did that exact same thing in Enshrouded. He built like, okay, Zach,
Oh,
we
yeah,
were
he
building this.
did.
Yeah. Red flag. We were building this beautiful
Bobby
base.
is done.
Or Justine. I don't think
Or
they're a
Justine,
son.
I don't know.
Yeah. We were building this beautiful base, and then we come back to it, and there's this
It was
like
hideous.
base over top of the base, but it was like a big sun shield, and over top of our base, like blocking out the sun, made of stone, so we couldn't easily take it down. And we're like, Bobby, what are you doing? He's like, I'm just kind of building my own thing. We're like, but
On top of ours.
on top of our
On top of it. Wow.
yeah, horrible. For dating or friendships, if someone acted this way in any sort of relationship, and that would be a red flag for me. I'd be like, what else are you going to split the bill if we go for sushi? Or like, how does this relate to other aspects of our friendship or relationship? So I don't know, Don or Justine, you're on notice. None of these antics around me. Okay.
That's a show, huh?
Yeah,
I think it's
so.
a show.
I think, and also too, a little bit based off that question, when Dune Awakening comes out, you know, if anybody wants to join the DLG group and we're all working towards building a thing together, and you just want to go off and doing your own thing, that's fine. But don't come calling when the Tremors 1 through 7 start. You know,
The Tremors 1 through 7.
All right. Well,
Oh, yeah.
but-
Just to
yeah.
catch you up on that, Zach, Bobby has no time, as we've talked about, but he did watch 1 through
came on the
1 through
show.
7
Yeah.
last week.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, at the
Yeah.
I mean,
Came on
oh,
the
I
show.
hated most of them. I think.
Well,
yeah, of course. Yeah. We
All
shit
right.
talk Bobby so
Anyway,
much
he was
this
the star
episode.
of this show.
It felt cathartic. Yeah, we needed that. I think we needed to let off some steam. Yeah.
no, it's great.
a-
But you know, if you liked this or didn't like it, and you want to tell us all the things you don't like, and then at the end give us a 5 out of 5 review stars on Spotify, you can find us on Spotify. I also want to give a personal shout out to JBack Quest because he's awesome on Discord. And if you want to join some more awesome people on Discord, we've been having a lot of people active and engaging and popping off. We've got a game night coming at the end of this month. There's cool things happening in our Discord. You can find it at dlgaming.net. And speaking of Discord, I'm going to hand the plug a little bit over to Zach since he's our special guest and to tell us a little bit about his things and his plugs because he's going to punch and roll for initiative to get into the fight and in the game. So go ahead, take it away, Zach.
Yeah, I am. So I am the co-producer and co-star of another Podderation Network podcast, Punch and Roll for Initiative. We call ourselves a nerdy and dirty D&D podcast made up of audiobook narrators. But it's really cool. We used our session zeros to create our world from scratch. So we're not in we're playing a familiar system. We are playing Dungeons and Dragons 5e, but it's a completely unique world to us. And so we have a handful of sessions. They are dramatic at times. They are chaotic most of the time. There is way too much innuendo and dirty jokes, but that just kind of goes with the territory for a lot of us. But we are Punch and Roll for Initiative on most socials. We have a link tree on our Instagram that has a link to our Discord, Punch and Roll for Initiative.
I'm 100%
Wonderful.
going to check that out, dude, because I like
Awesome.
to play podcasts. Do you guys find yourselves trying to outdo each other with the acting, with the voices and stuff?
No, thankfully
No.
we're not too competitive in that regard. We are all doing a lot of fun voices. Our DM gets to do most of them, right? Because he
right.
voices everyone else in the world. So he goes out there with the crazy silly voices. The rest of us kept it mostly grounded and comfortable because you got to listen to us play the same character, episode after episode. Nobody wants to hear a main PC talking like this all the time.
Yeah.
Wait, I kind of like it though.
I just heard that it was some voice actor talking about on Adventure Time, like he does all these voices, and one of them is like Banana Guard #1, and it's a harder one to do. And he's like, well, at least I only ever say yes or no or whatever, right? Until they made the video game, and then he had to do 100 lines of dialogue with and like with that nasally voice, and he's like, it felt like I was eating my own mouth the whole time. He's like,
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
All right, Emilio.
All right, that is a show. The song you're about to hear is Split Fiction's Echoes song. Speaking of for Amanda, Zach, Christian, and myself, we'll go with audio titties. Bye, everybody.